Dr. Ludmila Schaefer, and I level the playing field of knowledge around wellness, medicine, and research to help you to make informed decisions. Welcome to the Doctor Connect, where we are connecting through inspiring stories and providing education and information around wellness, health, cancer, and medical technology. I'm your host, Dr. Ludmila Schaefer, broadcasting from Kansas City in the United States. All information discussed on this platform does not substitute your medical care. Guests on this platform sharing own stories, experiences, and conclusions. And today, we will have a very special episode. We will discuss about nutrition, about chronic illness. This channel, the Doctor Connect, it's not only about connection with the doctors. It is actually connection with people. It's connection with your environment, with the family, with your work, with your hobbies, nutrition, everything, including heart, mind, body, and soul. So we bring on this platform experts and advocates and most of the people who are in the field of nutrition, in the field of health, wellness, leadership, medical technology to share experiences and conclusions. And today, I'm joined by three special guests, and you will learn a lot. And we will be right back. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. We are live, believe it or not. We are streaming live on E360 TV. It also will be on 9 different platforms, including YouTube and Facebook. So dear guests, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. So I would like to start and tell that we are here for a very special reason. There is one thing unite all of us. For the last year, a lot of things changed. And not only changed around pandemic, but also a lot of people had to be adjusted for work, environment, business, nutrition, health. There's so many things. And our day and our life depend on many factors. And today, we address those factors through special stories. So I would like to start and see if all of you please introduce, and we start from Dr. Laura DeCesaris. Laura, please tell us your full name and what do you do?
Hi, yes, I'm Dr. Laura DeCesaris. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me on. I am a functional medicine practitioner. I work primarily with women with issues of women's health, personalized nutrition, and how to optimize health and performance in the workplace with nutrition. I am mostly online, especially after the events of last year, but I've found it's allowed me to help many more women across the country. So I'm actually very excited about it. I got into this field of functional medicine because of my own health issues, like so many of us who work in the nutrition field. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's when I was 23 years old. At the time, I thought I was doing everything right health-wise. I was following the food pyramid, I was doing my cardio, but what I learned was it wasn't right for me. And I was really able to halt my Hashimoto's and bring down my antibodies to very low levels using the power of nutrition. So for me, that's what really catapulted me into the field of nutrition and functional medicine. And it's what I'm very passionate about. Nutrition is such a huge piece of anyone who's dealing with a chronic illness, as if you talk with anyone who has one, they know very much. But there's a lot of confusion out there, right? A simple Google search tells you 1,000 different things to do for the same condition, and it's all a very individualized experience. So I am here to serve as a guide for women as they navigate all of the information that you can access at the click of a button now to try and make it much easier for them.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. And I would like just to see if we all introduce and then we dive deep in the conversation. Amber, please tell us. Amber is our patient advocate. And with my deepest heart and soul, Amber, thank you so much for your time being with us. Can you please tell us your full name, where you located, and a couple of words about you before we dive deep?
Great. Yeah, my name is Amber Whiting. I live in the Portland metro area of Oregon, and I'm a patient advocate who's strongly passionate about raising awareness for complex illness patients and trying to work towards empowerment of patients and education for doctors related to complicated patients as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Amber, and we can't wait to share a little bit more information. And Kathy Glazer is our Eat Smart coach. Yes, Kathy, welcome. Yes. Tell us your full name, where are you located?
Thank you. I'm Kathy Glazer. I'm a registered dietitian and certified health coach. I'm in the Washington, D.C. metro region. I've been in practice for over 30 years. I like to work with women. I work with men who are trying to increase their energy, maybe lower their blood pressure or their blood sugar, lose weight or maintain their weight. Similar to Dr. Laura, I got into this because I was an overweight teenager and very frustrated about trying to lose weight, trying all kinds of methods that did not work and were not sustainable. So long story short, I went to graduate school and studied nutrition science, learned about the background of healthy eating and the proper tools. And I like to be able to share that with my clients to improve their health, improve their vitality, and give them vibrant health.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kathy. And with that, we are going to dive deep. And please, everyone, connect with us, stay with us. We will be right back. All right. Dr. Laura, welcome back. Thank you so much. Let's dive deep.
Let's do it.
Thank you for being with me. Well, we had so many different conversations and discussions. And every time when we speak about nutrition and education, and right now it's a sort of split population, we do have a lot of people struggling with weight. You know, many factors play a role. But on the other side, for example, in someone who has chronic illness or cancer, it's actually very difficult to gain weight. So we are talking about, how to balance. But before we go into balance, can you please tell us what's your backstory, or maybe one episode or something that you really care deeply about?
Sure. So as I mentioned, I got into nutrition and functional medicine because of my own experience with Hashimoto's. But my passion for nutrition and health actually started a little earlier than that. A few years prior to that, my mom was diagnosed with thyroid cancer and Hashimoto's as well, that had gone undiagnosed for years. And I remember spending my teenage years watching her struggle with finding providers that would listen with the symptoms coming and going, and how challenging that can be, trying to figure out what diet to follow. And I mean, gosh, that was in the early 90s. It was much different in terms of getting nutrition information than it is now. And she had a really hard time with it. And it just really made me want to go into that field and learn more about it, because we always had a healthy lifestyle growing up. Mm-hmm. So that is kind of really what was the impetus for me getting into health. Actually worked in a research lab when I was at university which I loved. I loved the science behind it, but I found it a little lonely for me, which is why I decided to move into patient care ultimately. Yeah, but that's my story and how I learned about it. I started thinking I was going to go very much towards a research route, and then ended up really going more towards the integrative model and nutrition when I experienced something myself.
Yes, and Laura, you mentioned about like growing up healthy, and also I will tell that when I was growing up, everything was homegrown, natural, and canned. We pretty much, carry and foraged for the mushrooms to marinate and for berries to make a jam, and grown our own tomatoes and cucumbers. And me as a child had to basically harvest and plant and gather fruits and vegetables. What does it mean? You said that you grew up in a healthy, and then of course you went to research, but can you introduce and tell us a little bit, what does it mean healthy from you as an expert standpoint?
Sure. So when I think about, I feel very lucky to have grown up where and when I did. Similar to you, we also had a garden growing up. I remember, going outside and weeding the garden, picking our own food every night, clipping off the fresh herbs to have. I do feel like a lot of kids today don't have that opportunity. We were outside all the time in the fresh air. I grew up in a very rural part of the United States in Pennsylvania. We did not have issues with air pollution, with all of the overpopulation issues related to the environment that we have where I grew up. So for me, it was a lot of movement and fresh air, fresh food that we grew. So it just is very different from when I talk to parents now, what their kids are often experiencing, which is a lot of time indoors, much more time at the computer, not so much of the fresh food, a lot of boxed and packaged and more convenient foods, which have their time and place, but as a staple, it can be really challenging. So, being able for me as a kid to go outside in my bare feet and get sunlight and fresh food, that made a world of difference, I think, growing up.
Yes. So if we right now, let's say for current children and who is growing up right now, what tips, what can you suggest to us? What can we do to balance? Is it right now there are so many different trends in nutrition. I feel like, every day, whatever I look up, it's something new comes. Can you give us, what should I do today from your standpoint?
It is very confusing, right? It seems like every year there's a new most popular diet that everyone's trying or someone's mad about. So it's a battlefield out there. But I think for most people, instead of going towards all of the shiny objects out there, taking a step back and really returning to the basics and looking at what serves as a healthy basic foundation. So if we're talking just about food and nutrition, for example, how much food during the day are you eating that grows from the ground? Or did that food have a mother? If you say yes to one of those two questions, that's basically eating whole foods that are very nutrient dense, right? Versus focusing so much on things like macros and high fat and low fat. We've become very disconnected from our food. We start to look at it and calculate numbers in our head instead of looking at it and saying, well, is this an actual food or is this not a food? So I think returning to that basics and at least trying to get 80% of your food, again, those whole foods. Did it grow from the ground? Did it have a mother? That's a great starting place for most people. That's really what the crux of an anti-inflammatory diet is going to be. I think if you do that, and then the other basic recommendation I give to people who have no idea where to start is when you go into the market or the grocery store, shop your perimeters. This is where you're going to find all the most fresh food. Once you get into the center of most grocery stores, that's when you start to get into your boxed and sugary processed foods. So if you try and keep that to a minimum, again, you're going to be getting the most nutrients from the food you're eating, and you're going to be able to connect to it a little better because it's actually a food that you're eating.
Yeah. So for example, if I wake up in the morning and there have been, different concepts and you name it, people do all kind of diets all over. Should I eat in the morning? Should I eat in the evening? Don't eat before you go to bed. Don't eat too much in the morning. At lunch, you're going to get tired. You can't work. So what should I do? Now I don't even know when I should eat because the rest of the hours I'm working. So what should I do?
I think the best thing that anyone can do before they even think about eating first thing in the morning is wake up and drink a glass of water. A lot of people forget also just about drinking water. It's a good start to your day. Instead of getting really caught up in, fasting, yes, we know it has benefits. How often do I eat? Breakfast is good, breakfast is bad. I like to teach people, okay, let's tune back into what we call the HEC triad. Are you hungry?
What is that?
Yeah, so are you hungry? That's the H. Do you have energy? That's the E. And do you have cravings? That's the C. Most people get so caught up with planning their meals, with focusing on when they should and shouldn't eat, they forget to tune into what is their body actually telling them. Are you hungry? If so, eat. Is your energy low? You're having trouble paying attention? You should eat. Are you craving something? That means you need to eat food. So being able to cue into your body is a great way to at least figure out, okay, when's the best time of day for me to eat? Paying attention that way versus trying to schedule it ahead of time based on a template that you read online.
Yes, and interesting that the other day someone mentioned to me, well, don't drink before you eat. And then the other person said, no, drink before you eat. And we go out and, obviously what do we get served? Serve water. So what is your approach in terms of food first, drink first? Well, not drinking, but the water, yes.
Sure. Yeah. So I think what happens with some people, especially if they're already dealing with some digestive issues, maybe they're prone to bloating or heartburn or reflux. If they chug a bunch of water, a bunch of liquids, and then eat their food, they tend to get a lot of sloshing that exacerbates their symptoms. So I always tell people if they're unsure where to go, try both. Try just having a little bit of water, then having your meal, and then drinking the rest of your liquids afterwards, or see what happens if you sip on it throughout the meal. I wouldn't suggest anyone, chug a couple glasses of water right in a row during a meal. It's just going to make you uncomfortable. The other one that can be challenging for people is sparkling water. Sparkling water is very popular. It can have a little bit of flavor now. But again, especially in people who are prone to having some bloating, some reflux, it can worsen some of those issues. So if you're drinking a bunch of carbonated water during a meal and you're trying to eat your food and allow your stomach to do its job and digest it, it can really lead to a lot of those uncomfortable symptoms like acid reflux, like bloating as well. So
yeah, that's very interesting. So I guess we all have to find our personal way, consult with healthcare professional. Am I understanding correctly? Or I don't do nutrition on everyday basis, but I'm just trying to go with your advice. Is that what we should do?
That, and also just like return to thinking about the basics. So a lot of people, we're so busy today, we eat on the fly. I can't tell you how many clients I work with who don't realize that they're not even really chewing their food. That's the first thing I do with someone, especially if they have a digestive complaint. Sit back, get rid of the distractions while you're eating. No phone, no computer, stop eating in your car, chew your food. And so many people say, oh, wow, I was like taking 2 bites and then just swallowing everything whole. Well, of course you're not going to digest your food properly. So I will say, I feel like when I've gone and visited people in Europe and other parts of the world, they're much better with this. It's just slowing down and being in the moment and basic biology. Chew your food to start that digestive process. So yes, I think when people start with the basics like that, pay attention to how your body feels, be mindful and present when you're eating. That solves a lot of people's digestive issues. If things still pertain, we have talking stomach pain, other GI issues, yes, then it's always great to work with a professional to figure out what works best for you. If we've learned anything about nutrition, it's that there is no one diet for everyone. There's really not.
Yeah, I really like that approach because we all learn more about our, personal body. We all have different genetics. We have a different digestion, and sort of one size doesn't fit all. And a lot of times we tell, okay, you should do this, this, and this. But I think all of this is a guideline, and we have to find our own way. And especially, Dr. Laura, I like how you said about slow down. Right now, everyone's so busy. I just don't know if anybody has time basically sit down for a minute. Seems like everybody's so in a rush. And I think the slow down, take deep breath, take your food. That would definitely help. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those of us who have a healthcare background understand, I mean, even our nervous system, we know that it needs to be at rest. We need to be in that parasympathetic state just for the digestive process to work efficiently. If we're eating on the go, when we're stressed out, we're not giving our system a chance to even process the food. So being mindful and slowing down goes a long way for many, many people today.
Many people, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Laura. Would you like to add sort of the last tip to our audience? And then I would love to stay for you till the top of the hour, so we'll have a panel. But do you have one tip before we sort of finish this part of conversation for the audience?
Yes, I would say my last nutrition tip, if you're confused and trying to figure out what the heck do I eat, where do I start, don't listen to what all your friends and family tell you. You have to figure it out for yourself, because the nutritional approach that works for your neighbor down the street, for someone else, that may not be appropriate for you. So take the time to learn about your body, to cue into your body, and really enjoy it and figure out what makes you feel the best at the end of the day, instead of what someone tells you is the best.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Laura. And I will see you just in a few minutes, and looking forward to connect with you soon.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with that, I would like to tell everyone, thank you so much for joining us. This is the Dr. Connect show, and we are connecting through inspiring stories, providing education and information about wellness, health, medical technology, cancer, and many, many other connections. And with that, I would like to invite our next guest, and we will be right back. Welcome, welcome, Amber. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for introducing yourself. And it means world to me that you are with us. And today, we are discussing not only about nutrition, but the reason I'm making this connection, because I feel like just we spoke with Dr. Laura that each of us has a different path, and each of us needs to advocate for different things. And I would like to ask you, let's dive deep. What's your backstory? What would you like to share with our audience? And I really just would love to connect with you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I am a patient of complex illnesses, and I went undiagnosed with this condition, which is a genetic condition. It's called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It is a type of connective tissue disorder. And it took me 32 years before I got the diagnosis that I needed. And at one point earlier on in the process, I had actually been talking with a doctor who said, well, there's nothing we can do for you. We don't really know what's wrong. We know that there's something wrong with your joints, but there's nothing more. Just go out and get acupuncture. And I'm like, well, that's a treatment I'm currently seeking. And the answer was, go get more of it. And not that that wasn't a good piece of advice, because I think there are alternative areas of medicine that are very important to each individual's experience. But after the severe disability that I had faced with my very complex medical condition, it led me to a care team that I had to seek out myself. And so I actually worked with specialists throughout the country. And in doing so, I learned a lot about myself. And I actually have multiple diagnoses that kind of fed into each other. It's considered what's called the trifecta. And so it's a combination of hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is the connective tissue disorder, POTS or postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and mast cell activation syndrome. And those three diseases tend to be comorbid with one another. And an important point for me when it comes to patient advocacy is that as a patient, it is so important for you to learn as much as you can about the healthcare system that you're working within. One thing that's been very helpful for me is I treat my providers as if they are partners with me through that process. And I think that it's an area that we can educate doctors on and how they can be involved in helping to empower patients with complex illness, and also helping to empower the patient themselves so they know the different routes that they can take to go and seek the help that they need, and being open to alternate ideas around healthcare that can also benefit their situation.
Yes, Amber, and that's the whole reason that I would like to have conversation with you, because we are trying to bridge the gap between the healthcare and community. And right now, everybody knows it's so difficult to navigate through healthcare system. It always been, but right now, after pandemic, with all new changes, it's just so difficult. And the telemedicine started. There are so many new innovative other things. However, the doctors are so busy, and, I am as a physician, and even we try to sit down with the patient. And I sort of want to bring you into this, deep question, when you see busy doctor, like you said, and, everybody needs to listen. What one key question, or maybe for our audience, how they can, sort of discuss, make sure that, the healthcare providers, everybody listening to the patients? Because I also heard the story when, someone said, I basically had to grab the doctor and tell, are you listening to me? So we have to come to this point, but what can we tell everyone? What's that key point that you learned?
What I can say that helped, it was a changing point for me in my pursuit for finding a diagnosis and ultimately uncovering a successful treatment, was creating my own timeline. That made a significant difference because I have a genetic condition that started from when I was little. I have a very complex, weird medical history. And once I started piecing all of the different items together, so at 6, I had this symptom where I was getting chronic nosebleeds and nobody knew what was going on, and they couldn't cauterize my nose enough to get it to stop. Or then when I was in my teens, I had issues with dislocating my kneecap, and nobody knew what caused that. And when I made that list and itemized exactly based on chronology how I was experiencing these symptoms, it helped to paint a picture that typical emergence, or any of the medical records that we keep, the electronic medical records that we keep, don't usually paint an excellent picture of right now. Now, they might if you stay at the same doctor's office and we have that history, but there's a very good chance that there are pieces of your history that aren't being factored in. So breaking it down and putting it into a chronological history and timeline was really helpful for me. And I use that also by being a really expert record keeper. So I pulled actual documents from medical records that I had that showed these, these pieces of information that helped paint the overall picture of what was going on with me. And the more legwork I can say that you do ahead of time as a patient and try to maximize that appointment with the doctor, the better that conversation is going to go. So you only usually have about 15 minutes max with the doctor where you're face-to-face with them. So if you can outline everything that you're experiencing in a very concise way and maximize how that appointment is going to go, you're going to get the most out of it. And your first appointments may be longer, but long term, as a chronic illness patient, the way that I approach each appointment is trying to focus on what that objective of that appointment is. And so I'm not going to be solving all of my medical problems at once. I'm going to be taking care of the key symptoms at that time. So I think being very empowered and strategic as a patient has made a huge difference in my ability to manage my conditions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Amber. And I agree. So a lot of times we discuss about homework. And every time I see patient, we try to prepare, look at the scans, look at the laboratory analysis, prepare this, prepare that, make phone calls, connect with other providers, and then feel like walk in a room and still, not enough. We're still missing information. So thank you for sharing that, actually interesting that you said that the patients also do a homework. So I guess it's a united, we both need to learn about each other before we have this conversation. And that would definitely expedite. And so Amber, I also want to say that how you describe about your symptoms, and all of us, we study in the medical school, and we all saw those, pictures of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and there are 13 different subtypes. So we just want to know, audience who listening to us, it's not one, it's a very complex. It's an inherited disorder, connective tissue, it's your proteins, and then it's increased elasticity in the joints, in the vessel. And that's what Amber was describing, and my sincere sympathy, because you as a young person having those symptoms and you're looking for answers, and, what do people tell to young patient? You're young, right?
Right.
Or, for example, if person young and experience some symptoms, we are so busy in life, we work, we graduate, we do this, we do that, we take care of family, and it's not me. And we always want to bring attention that at some point it's actually, it's me, it's actually the person, and you have to understand that symptoms you experience might not be normal. But also I would like to ask you, do you have any specific, maybe difficult episode or exciting episode or something in the back, story that you can share with us, or maybe one day from your life or similar to that?
Yeah. So can you repeat the question just really quick?
Yes. If you have one episode or one story, one day in your life that you want to share with us or could share with us, please.
Yeah. So like as far as like episode, like symptoms and what my normal experience is like.
Or not necessary. Anything,
Okay.
what you do, or maybe you have other hobbies, or
yeah. So,
about
sure.
you.
So I other than the patient advocacy work that I do and being a complex patient, I care a lot about being creative, spending time with my son. I work full time, so I'm in asset management, real estate, and then I also, I love to golf. It's one of my favorite things, and it's been a major challenge with my condition. And so I've had to learn ways, and physical therapy has made a huge difference. Having informed physical therapy has made such a difference in my life and ability to enjoy those types of things. But I love staying active. I love being out in nature. And, I think there is a lot to be said about going out and living life after you've been restricted for so long, that it means so much more. And it does help keep you going. So, I like to keep active whenever I can.
So you find this a special niche or something that you can actually do differently, and despite everything what's happening, and keep appointments and do your homework, you actually enjoy with son. And Amber, can you give us maybe tips for the audience? And I know you already share so many different things, like keep your homework and enjoy your activity. And can you add a sort of summarize something else that we can carry away?
Yeah, I think really one thing that I would like to mention is that there's a part that doctors can play in this, and it's one of the phrases that I really like to use. If you can't connect the issues, think connective tissues. My particular connective tissue disorder is the one that doesn't have a known genetic marker at the moment. And so it's very challenging to get a diagnosis. The other thing is that doctors don't really know what to do with patients like me. And so they tend to think that there's another doctor out there who's going to help us. There's not a specific doctor that helps Ehlers-Danlos patients or patients who deal with complex conditions like I do. So finding the way to work both from the patient side and from the provider side, to have that partnership that we're going to find a solution. We will tailor this and make sure that we find a good treatment option for you is really important. And so coming to both the provider from the patient's perspective and from the provider's perspective to the patient, with this mindset that you are both trying to achieve the same goal, is a really good place to start. And also recognizing you both have some challenges and barriers to go through. It's important. We have a tough world. It's not easy getting through, tons of patients all day. And especially if you have to do a lot of research, it's going to be a lot of extra work on both the patient and the provider. So treating it as a partnership that you both care about the other person and that you want to work together towards the same goal and staying positive, I think is a big difference in the patients who are able to get the care that they need versus the ones that are kind of continually restricted. So that's just something that's helped me personally. And I really recommend folks, try to approach this as a relationship, and that you're both invested in the same results together, because they're important to each of you. So.
And hopefully with all next generation sequence and molecular platforms, there will be a new technology coming. And in the past, like I say, we used to look with one pair of eyes on the genes, and then we have 500 and 10,000. So hopefully we will find soon with new molecular platforms. And we wish you all the best, Amber. Thank you so much for sharing such a vulnerable story. It means so much for us to learn, especially, we feel like with the new changes that going on, we don't really know much about those rare undiagnosed conditions. And I think there are a lot of people also sitting at home and they probably don't know. So a lot of things still undiagnosed. So we are moving forward. So having all this conversation and what you describing, it's really, really means a lot to us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And Amber, if you could, I know it's very difficult and, you have so many activities and you have to take care, but if you could stay at the top of the hour, I would love to have you back and have a panel with other guests.
Perfect. Sounds good.
I will see you shortly. Thank you, Amber. We'll see you.
Thank you.
And with that, thank you very much for everyone staying and connecting with us. This is the Dr. Connect show, and we will be right back with our next guest. Welcome, Kathy. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, what an exciting time. We just heard from Dr. Laura and Amber. There's so many things we have to do and so many things we have to adjust. And each of us has certain challenges and each of us has message. And we are here to inspire, connect, and see how we can advocate for things. So Kathy, please tell us a little bit of your backstory and what you do, how we can dive deep in the nutrition and give some messages. Let's start from your backstory.
Okay, well, thank you. My name is Kathy Glazer. I'm a registered dietitian and certified health coach. My story really begins when I was about 17. I was an overweight teenager and very unhappy. I tried the Atkins diet. I tried powders. I ordered pills from the back of a magazine that didn't work. My parents coerced me to go to Weight Watchers. I was the only teenager with all the adults. Obviously, I could not relate to them, especially when I heard comments like, well, don't eat the crust off your children's plates. I was like, well, that doesn't quite, qualify for me. Well, fast forward to after college, I was working in retail and really was making commissions, which was a very tough way to make a living. So I decided to go back to graduate school because I did have an interest in nutrition. I love to cook. I love to experiment. I love to eat healthy foods. So it was kind of a good marriage of things. And I got my degree. I did an internship. I did some research at the university at Case Western Reserve, where I did my studies. And then I became a dietitian and worked in a variety of aspects. But what I liked was that I had the opportunity to help people where I did not get help myself as a youngster. So really my weight problem evolved into me getting a career as a dietitian and helping other people in the same situation. So I was taking a difficult situation for me and hopefully alleviating somebody else's problem in the future. So that was kind of like my backstory.
Yes. So, it is very, sort of path that you took, and a lot of difficult, step by step, year by year. But why do you do what you do? What actually was any person that influenced in life or episode or, something that actually led you into nutrition?
Well, I think that my struggle to lose weight and do it healthy and make it sustainable was my goal. I had lost 50 pounds and I've kept it off for 40 years. So I know that it's possible, but it's not easy. And a lot of it, I think, goes back to my grandfather, who was a physician who coached me a little bit. But I really do think that it's because of my struggle to find success, so to speak, and be healthy. And wasn't necessarily just to get a lower dress size, but to avoid problems in the future. And as a 17-year-old, someone telling you that you could get diabetes or hypertension or sleep apnea or whatever, it just kind of goes right over your head. You just don't think because 17-year-olds think they're invincible. But, obviously as an adult now, many years later, and treating a lot of different patients, you see that the comorbidities of people having, sleep apnea or metabolic syndrome or hypertension or, because of obesity. So that it really did open my eyes for that.
So Amber just brought up a very important point about doing homework, and I know that we do homework, patients do homework. Can you tell a little bit what kind of homework you do when you meet someone? And yes, people have multiple comorbidities, and actually it's very difficult to manage your weight. I agree that 17-year-old, obviously, no matter what, we have to lose weight. But then also, we have some other patients and other sort of people who have different type of chronic conditions. And for example, pancreatic cancer, it's very difficult to gain weight and we sort of struggle. So can you tell us a little bit about your homework or things you do as a secret?
Well, I don't know if they're really secrets, but I try to look at the person as a whole person and not just their disease or their condition, because it's really a big influence. And just to give you an idea, I think there's about 256 factors that go into weight loss.
256?
Yeah, I think I had watched a webinar recently and she had a graphic on there with 250 different types of things that can influence your weight. So, which is, kind of mind blowing, because most people think it's just, eat less, exercise more, and you'll lose weight. But we know that there's your metabolism. Are you on medication? Do you have some medical condition? Are you sleeping enough? Are you getting enough water? Do you have sleep apnea? So there's so many factors that are involved that I try to find out, is a person under a lot of stress? Because increased cortisol doesn't help with weight loss. So I try to find out what the different factors are in someone's sort of their overall health picture. And not just, that one little thing, you need to lose weight, but what else is going on in your life that might contribute to to not being successful.
Yeah, that's a very important factor, especially I have to study tonight about these 256 factors. And I urge all audience go back and study. And so nutrition, obviously, right now is a very important factor. But also tell us a little bit about yourself. What sort of influence on you outside, your work and all, years you dedicated to work. Do you have anything else outside in your story in life? Things you like to do or not?
Yes, I like to do. I love to garden. I have a vegetable garden, an herb garden. I have flowers. So, it's great to connect you to the earth. I just right before dinner picked some herbs. I just picked some carrots and tomatoes for my salad. So that was wonderful. I love the summertime when I can be able to do that. I like to hike. I bike. I like to walk for exercise, especially out in the forest or the parks, just to kind of connect with nature and kind of recharge myself. I like to do watercolor painting. So I usually say that my hobbies are interfering with my work. So it's, I try to fit everything in, not always successfully, but I do have a variety of things I like to do outside of work.
Yeah, thank you. That reminds me, we just spoke with Dr. Laura that yes, we go in the garden and we sort of gather our own food. This is definitely very inspiring. Well, thank you very much, Kathy. We really enjoy meeting you. And if you would please stay with us, and I'm going to bring other guests. So we'll have a few minutes, our panel. And I'm so excited that everyone is joining. So we will be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We will be right back at the Dr. Connect show. Welcome back. Now we are again in our family environment, just like we started. Thank you. What an amazing conversation. How are you feeling? All right. Yes. Well, we are sharing stories, and today, one of the special days, because we are trying really bring everyone together. We are trying to bring and advocate for our patients. We try to advocate from different level of healthcare professionals. We are bringing everyone together. And we are unfortunately almost at the top of the hour. And what I learned that we really need to look at the person like 360 degree. And we have to advocate more broadly and not just look at, sort of one path and look at one diagnosis and look at the symptoms in the book or look how we're supposed to do that or that. So before we conclude, I would love to see if each of you just sort of tell us a conclusion, last tip for our audience for about 30-60 seconds. Yes, who would like to start?
I'll go first.
Oh,
do the Japanese method and eat till 80% full, and be mindful of how you're eating.
Excellent, thank you. Mindful. Tell me again the Japanese.
It's 80. Eat till you're 80% full.
80%. Excellent. Love it. Love it. Yes. Amber?
Yeah. So I think what I would recommend is, find those ways to navigate your healthcare system, because there's going to be a lot of challenges. So find that way. And when you hit a roadblock, it's great if you can work through with whatever medical group that you have, or try to find alternate styles of different types of occupational therapists, physical therapists, nutritionists, functional medicine doctors. There's a lot of different folks out there who might be able to help you. And there's also bonus points if you're running into a healthcare system and having to deal with these complex problems, but working through that with them, because not only could you be helping yourself, but you could help future individuals down the road. So I think trying to navigate that healthcare system and being empowered to take that on can make a huge difference in your own healthcare journey.
Thank you, Amber. This is very important because I don't even know how complex it is. The other day we were speaking about, when someone, let's say, doesn't has a lot of support, and right now we speak a lot about healthcare disparities, then, if the person diagnosed with something, you have symptoms, where do you call? Do you look at the yellow pages? Do you look online? Do you Google? Do you call the friend? Do you call Amber? Do you call Dr. Laura, Kathy? I mean, what do you do? Do you know, today, if I have symptoms, if I don't have primary care provider, or if I do, where do I start?
For me, it was starting with your symptoms that you're experiencing, chronicling any of your history or your family history. Having all of that information at the get-go was really helpful to start pinpointing a diagnosis, and then finding out any kind of doctor that you can that is open to researching that with you, and that you're both interested in actually finding the answer, and then keep being willing and persistent to get through that process, because it can be a really long process, but it really does help when you are when you're working with a provider who is interested in that outcome and wants to find the true answer to what's going on with you.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. We all need patience, and we always need that persistence. Thank you so much, Amber. Thank you. Dr. Laura, tell us, please.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking on what Amber said, what I was thinking in my mind was, especially when you're dealing with a chronic illness, whether you're the patient or the doctor, it's generally going to take some time. It's going to take research. It's going to take patience on the part of both of you. So having been on both sides of the table in this scenario, as a patient, like what Amber said, do your research, find practitioners who take the time to listen to you, who are going to be your partner in health. That's going to be your best chance at really looking at all of the different lifestyle factors, stressors, everything else involved. And if you're the practitioner, understanding that patients who come in with a chronic illness, they may take some more time. They have very complex patient histories. They have a lot going on. There's a lot to coordinate and plan accordingly. Or if you can't, maybe yourself or a member from your office can check in with them ahead of time and say, hey, how's it going? Is there anything new that we need to talk about at your next appointment? This way it allows you to be setting the appropriate amount of time aside so that that patient truly feels heard, and that you're not feeling like you're rushing out the door to your next patient when that person really needs to talk to you and figure out the root cause of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And you brought a very important point, because right now, when someone diagnosed with a certain condition or cancer or anything, people don't know that they have to see about 5-6 different providers. And, for patient, it's so difficult. If you're this doctor, well, that's not my field. You go to this, and that's not my field. That's what I specialize. And there are so many specialized. So we kind of need to find a way to navigate, like Amber said, and find a certain course, because, people don't know. And I don't know, how do you, each of you feel about, we have to see 5-6 different providers, and we're not talking just, doctors. We're talking about everyone. There are probably more than a dozen if we put together.
Right. Yeah. And just remember, at the end of the day, behind that very complex patient file, there's an actual person there who's struggling through someone, and they really need that support.
Yeah.
One thing that I would just like to say really quick, and I think this is something that's really stuck with me, is that doctors, a lot of times I'll go to them and I'll start explaining the symptoms that I have, and they'll tell me something like, oh, I'm sorry, that's not my field of expertise. Mm-hmm. But the thing about it is, you can flip that around and say, I'm a patient. this isn't my level of expertise. It's not. I have to become somewhat of an expert of, I'm an expert of what my symptoms are. I'm an expert of my history and things like that. But ultimately, I'm not a doctor. So we have to work together to find these answers. And there's not always a specialist for every condition. And so it's kind of changing how that dialogue works and being willing on both parts to go through the process towards effective treatment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I appreciate all of you so much. And Amber and Dr. Laura and Kathy, this is amazing. And I really would love to have you back and see if we can spend more time and see how we can all learn and connect and advocate. And with that, unfortunately, we are at the top of the hour. So thank you so much for joining and connecting with us. And also, I would like for all audience, please connect with our guests. They provide huge advocacy, expertise, and also please connect with each other. Connect and find ways, do your homework, follow guidance, watch for your body, pay attention to your body. And also, I want to say, everyone, thank you for joining us with being on the Dr. Connect show. And please join and subscribe our YouTube channel. We are live right now, but we also will be on demand available in about a few days. And comment and contact us. We are super excited to have you on our journey with us. And thank you for watching and listening. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. And with that, thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you.
I'm Dr. Ludmila Schaefer, and I level the playing field of knowledge around disease prevention, research, and patient care to help you to make informed decisions.